been all talking about how Super Bowl 49 ended and how difficult it will be for everybody in the Seahawks organization to turn the page. One guy who has an easier go of it because he has a completely new page that he's turning to in his career. A first-time head coach in the National Football League, named the new head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, coronated as such today. Joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show, Dan Quinn. How are you, Dan?
Hey, Rich, how you doing? And thanks for having me on your show today.
Oh, gosh, thanks for coming on. Obviously, I want to talk with you about your new chapter, but as I'm sure you would assume, I would go in this direction as everyone else in the media is what happened 2 days ago and your point of view from a defensive coordinator position of the play call that was chosen on the 1-yard line.
You know, Rich, and I hope everybody got the sense at home, and these two teams totally went for it in terms of the battling, the effort, you know, everything it took all the way down to the end. So, you know, like in most games, it usually doesn't come down to one call, although it felt like it because it was here at the end, and there were some terrific plays made by Jermaine to get down there, Marshawn to the catch. So for those ones to even have a chance of that, and it was hard for all of us. We don't know where to put it, you know, in our mind. Fortunately for me, I was able to. I didn't have too much time to dwell on it because this opportunity came about. But I got to tip my hat to them. I thought the guy made a terrific play too, Rich, on the ball. I think that's going without a lot of people talking about. Sometimes in those scenarios, just a guy makes a terrific play. And fortunately for me, and a bunch of the Seahawk guys have come through and made terrific plays in key moments through my time there, so I have respect and appreciation for that too.
Well, Dan, what about Coach Carroll and what he has to do moving forward with a few defensive players already saying on record and some being quoted off the record about the play call and having issue with it and wondering why Marshawn Lynch didn't get the football in that part and trying to get that team together? What do you make of the concept that there's going to be a rift in the locker room you just left behind?
You know what, Rich, and you know this just from being around the guys. In that time, the emotional, you know, state that a team is in when you're just competing as absolutely hard as you can. It's an emotional time, and you can imagine with everybody putting everything they had into it, maybe we all probably needed time to cool off. It's a really connected team, Rich, and I think that's one of the real strengths of the Seahawks, how tight those guys are. So, you know, although the aftermath of the game, it burns, it stings right now, these guys are so tight and so competitive. They just won't back down from a challenge. So I wouldn't be surprised if they got together real quick again.
Dan Quinn, the coordinator of one of the top defenses in the National Football League from the last 3 years. Many people believe one of the best over a 3-year period of all time. Now the Atlanta Falcons head coach joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. And I'm sure, as you know, Coach, a lot of people in Atlanta will be saying, okay, we've got Ryan at quarterback. We've got those wide receivers. We've got a running game. We just need that defense from Seattle to come here to Atlanta. How do you go about building that right from Jump Street, Coach?
You know what? One of the main things that we talk about right from the very first part, Rich, is just it's going to start with effort first in terms of the mindset, the attitude of how we'll play. So I hope when you see us play, you say, man, these guys play hard. And then from there, it goes into the way we'll attack the ball. And those two things will help us, you know, get us underway in terms of a style and of attitude of how we'd like to play. We're going to work really hard to try to be the best fundamental team in ball. That's a great challenge for us, but we know from tackling, from our mindset of how we want to go about and approach it defensively, you know, we're up for the challenge. I can't wait to get connected with these guys here.
Who are the coaches that have you've been around that make you part of the coach that you are? Dan.
You know, Rich, probably I've been so fortunate. I've been, you know, around some terrific head coaches, some terrific defensive coordinators from my time in the NFL with Mooch and Nick Saban, and then Pete Carroll's probably had the biggest impact on me just in terms of the style and the attitude. And it was important for me. So I was the defensive line coach for Pete, and then I left for 2 years to become the defense coordinator at Florida. So it was kind of like, all right, Dan, go take your shot and see, you know, put your own philosophy together. So it was during that time at Florida that I, you know, put in a lot of the philosophy that, you know, Pete had trained me on. So when I had the opportunity to come back to the NFL, I never thought I'd have a chance to come back and work in Seattle again. So when I had the chance to do that, you can see how fired up I was. So he's had a huge impact on me, Coach Carroll has.
So what are you going to bring essentially the type of defense that we heard all last week in the lead up to the game is Seattle does what they do. They play the same defense. They just line up. They rarely get out of it. They rarely blitz. They just do their thing. Is that what Atlanta Falcons fans should come to expect from the Dan Quinn Falcons?
You know what, Rich? I learned an important lesson in terms of for the players. let's get our cleats in the grass and go attack guys, and let's play in a style that allows them to be free mentally and play as fast as they can. So we'll start from there and then keep building as we go. The best teams I've been a part of are the teams that are the tightest and the closest, and that connection that they have, teammate to teammate, and dedicating their effort for each other. So that'll be the challenge, and a lot of work to do, and I can't wait to get started with the guys here.
What was the last few weeks like, Coach, where where you were, in essence, picking up the phone and getting offers or getting invitations to chat about the head coaching job that clearly that all coordinators are seeking for in the league, and yet you were still part of a championship team potentially.
That was my complete obligation to Pete and John and the players and all the 12s in Seattle to say, hey man, you're going to get my best. They totally deserve that from me, from what I from the opportunities they gave to me. So I wanted to be able to pay them back in that way to say, I'll make sure, I'm going to hold up my end of the bargain to be as absolutely prepared on it as we can. And then if, I'm fortunate enough and able, to get a head coaching job at the end of it, then I'd be fired up for that. But it was easy to stay connected. You know how fun it is in playoff football and the Super Bowl. It's just lots to do.
Yeah. Last question: have you chatted with Matt Ryan yet? And if so, what'd you talk about?
I just got a chance to get connected with him, and just from competing against him, he's one of the toughest guys to go against, and he's got great respect and admiration around the league, from the players. So I wanted him to know that, and I can't wait to start this process with him.
Yeah, and what do you think is the most important aspect of a quarterback-coach relationship, certainly with a coach being a defensive guy coming in?
I think just the support, to know that Matt will know that I have his back in every scenario and every situation. So that relationship's an important one. Although I don't, haven't had the experience on the offensive side, for him to know, and he'll understand, as we get connected, that support for him will be unwavering.
So if you're ever fortunate to have Matt Ryan on the 1-yard line, 20 seconds to go in a Super Bowl, Coach, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
We're going to put it in Matt's hands to go try to win the game.
There you go.
Sure.
Coach, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. Congrats on getting the gig.
All right. Thanks, Rich.
You bet.
Thanks.
That's Dan Quinn.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.